Why South Korea's economy is about to crack. Is South Korea's economy really under pressure, or is something deeper happening? South Korea is one of the most advanced economies in the world, known for technology, exports, and innovation. But in recent years, some warning signs have appeared. In this video, we'll explore the key economic challenges it faces in simple terms and what they may mean for the future. Why South Korea's economy is under press. Before we start, let's be clear about something important. This is not about panic. It's about understanding how real economies work. No economy is perfect. Even strong, developed countries can face pressure from internal and global changes. South Korea is often seen as a success story. It has strong technology companies, global exports, high education levels, fast economic growth in past decades. But like every economy, it also faces challenges. In this video, we'll break down those challenges in a simple and calm way. And by the end, you'll understand what is really going on beneath the headlines. Heavy household debt. One of the biggest concerns in South Korea is household debt. Many families have taken loans for housing, education, living expenses. When borrowing becomes too high, it can create pressure on households. Why does this matter? Because when people have high debt, they spend less, they save less, they feel financial stress. This can slow down economic activity over time. If interest rates rise, repayments also become more expensive, which can add extra pressure. It doesn't mean a crisis automatically happens, but it can create a fragile situation if combined with other factors. Real estate pressure. Housing is another important factor. In many major cities, housing prices increased significantly over the years. This made it harder for younger people to buy homes, start families, build savings. When housing becomes expensive compared to income, it can create long-term imbalance. For example, if wages don't rise as fast as housing costs, people may feel financially stuck. This can affect confidence and spending habits. Real estate cycles often move in long waves, so changes here can take time to adjust. Aging population. This is one of the most important long-term challenges. South Korea has one of the fastest aging populations in the world. This means fewer young workers entering the job market, more elderly people depending on support systems, higher pressure on healthcare and pensions. Why does this matter economically? Because economies depend on workers. Fewer workers can mean slower growth, lower productivity over time, higher government spending needs. It doesn't create immediate collapse, but it can gradually slow down economic momentum. Let me ask you something here. Did you know South Korea has one of the lowest birth rates globally? Most people don't realize how much that can affect long-term economic growth. Take a moment and think about it, because population trends often shape the future more than we notice. Export dependence. South Korea is a highly export-driven economy. That means a large part of its growth depends on selling goods abroad. Key exports include electronics, semiconductors, automobiles, ships. This model has worked very well for decades, but it also creates sensitivity to global demand. If global demand slows, South Korea can feel the impact more quickly than more balanced economies. For example, if technology demand slows globally, semiconductor companies may experience reduced growth. So external conditions play a big role. Technology cycle changes. South Korea is a leader in semiconductors and electronics, but technology industries often move in cycles. There are periods of high demand, rapid expansion, then slower growth or adjustment. When global tech demand slows, even strong companies can feel pressure. This is not unique to South Korea. It happens in many tech-driven economies. The key point is timing. Economic cycles can affect performance even in strong industries. Global trade tensions. Another factor is global trade uncertainty. South Korea trades heavily with major economies around the world. When global trade becomes uncertain, export demand can fluctuate. Supply chains may shift. Companies may adjust investment plans. This doesn't mean trade stops, but it can create unpredictability in growth patterns. Economies that rely on global trade are often more exposed to these changes. Currency and financial stability. The South Korean won can also be affected by global financial conditions. When global interest rates change, capital flows can move in or out. Currency value can fluctuate. Import costs can change. A weaker currency can sometimes help exports but also increase import costs. A stronger currency can reduce import costs but make exports less competitive. So balance is important. At this point, you might be wondering, is this a crisis or just normal economic cycles? That's a fair question. Because most economies don't collapse suddenly. They go through cycles of growth and adjustment. Understanding that cycle is key: productivity and competition. South Korea faces strong global competition, especially in technology and manufacturing. Countries like China, United States, Vietnam are all competing in similar industries. This increases pressure on pricing, innovation, and efficiency. To stay competitive, companies must continuously innovate. If productivity growth slows, economic expansion can also slow. This is a natural part of global competition. Government policy response. South Korea, like many advanced economies, has access to these tools to manage economic pressure and guide growth. However, these policies do not create immediate results. They often take time to work through the economy. This is why economic change usually happens in stages. In the short term, people may still feel pressure from debt, prices, or global uncertainty. But over the long term, policy adjustments can gradually support stability and growth. So it is important to understand that economies are always balancing two timelines at once. Short-term challenges can exist alongside long-term planning, and both shape the overall direction of the economy. Putting it all together. Now let's connect the dots. South Korea's economy is not facing one single problem. It is facing multiple overlapping challenges: high household debt, aging population, real estate pressure, export dependence, global uncertainty. Individually, these are manageable, but together they can create pressure on growth. That is why analysts often pay attention to these trends. Important perspective. It's important to stay balanced here. South Korea is still a major global economy, a leader in technology, a strong exporter, but like all economies, it must adapt to change. Economic strength is not permanent, it evolves. If you look at all these factors together, which one do you think has the biggest long-term impact? Population, debt, or global trade? There's no single correct answer. But thinking about these questions helps you understand economics more deeply. Conclusion: economies don't suddenly break without reason. They adjust, slow down, recover, and adapt. South Korea is going through a phase where long-term structural challenges are becoming more visible. But it also has strong foundations in technology, education, and innovation. Both things can be true at the same time. Understanding economies is not about predicting collapse, it's about understanding change. And when you understand change, you understand opportunity better too. If you found this breakdown helpful, you might enjoy our next video, where we explain how global economies actually connect and influence each other in simple terms. If you want more calm, clear economic explanations like this, consider liking and subscribing. See you in the next video.